Two people walk into a BMW dealership. Both leave with a car the same day, but one of them just bought transportation. The other just bought access to a ladder most people don't even know exists, because BMW isn't one brand. It's three brands stacked inside the same logo: a mass-market car company, a performance institution, and a coach-built ultra-luxury house. And the further you climb, the less it resembles the car your neighbor drives. So today, I'm breaking down the 7 levels of BMW. From the entry point almost anyone can finance, to the cars that are built in rooms most people will never see. Let's get into it. Level 1. The BMW 3 Series. This is where BMW ownership begins for most people, and it's been that way since 1975. Starts around $45,000. A 2.0-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, 255 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds. In the real world, that's quick. In the BMW lineup, that is the baseline. The 3 Series is the most important car BMW makes, not because it's the best, but because it's the proof of concept. Every time you see a BMW badge and think driver's car, that reputation was built by this car. The E30, the E46, the E90. Generations of automotive journalists called the 3 Series the benchmark for sports sedans. BMW spent 50 years earning that sentence. Here's what most buyers don't understand. The 3 Series is also the funnel. BMW's entire business model depends on people starting here and moving up. The margin isn't in the 3 Series. The margin is in everything you buy after it. Buy one, drive it, and notice what the dealer plants in your head on the way out. The 5 Series is just a little more. The M3 is what this wants to be when it grows up. That is not an accident. That is the plan. Level 2. The BMW 5 Series. This is where the brand stops feeling like a good car and starts feeling like a statement. Starts around $62,000. A 3.0-liter turbocharged inline-6, 335 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds. Longer wheelbase, more insulation, better materials, everywhere your hands and eyes land. The 5 Series exists in the exact tension that makes premium brands work. It's expensive enough to feel like an achievement. It's attainable enough that achieving it is realistic for a wide swath of buyers. BMW didn't stumble into that positioning. They engineered it. The detail most people miss? The inline-6 engine. BMW has been building inline-6 engines since 1933. It is not a configuration they use because it's cheap. It is a configuration they use because it is genuinely better for a rear-wheel drive sports sedan. Smoother, more linear, more characterful than a V6 or a turbocharged 4. BMW kept the inline-6 when competitors ditched it for packaging efficiency. That decision is either brand stubbornness or brand integrity, depending on who you ask. At this level, you are no longer buying a car. You are buying a position in your own mind. And BMW knows exactly what that's worth. Level 3. The BMW M3 and M4. This is where the company inside the company takes over. Starts around $75,000. The competition X3 version runs closer to $90,000. A 3.0-liter twin-turbocharged inline-6, 503 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds. BMW M GmbH is a separate subsidiary, separate engineering team, separate facility in Garching. The people who build the M3 are not the people who build the 3 Series, even though the bodies look nearly identical from across a parking lot. Here's the real story behind the M3. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand attention. It just works at every speed, in every situation, at a level that embarrasses cars costing twice as much. The controversy. The current generation is heavier, more powerful, and more digitally managed than its predecessors. Purists have been writing its obituary since the E92. They've been wrong every time. What makes the M3 dangerous for BMW is that it raises the floor. Once you've driven an M car, every standard BMW feels like it's holding something back. Because it is. Level 4. The BMW 7 Series. This is where BMW stops competing with itself and starts competing with Mercedes S-Class and Rolls-Royce Ghost. starts around $100,000. The M760e xDrive runs to $170,000. The i7 M70 xDrive starts above $180,000. A 4.4-liter twin-turbocharged V8 with 536 horsepower in the standard M760e. The i7 M70 pairs dual electric motors for a combined 650 horsepower and 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. A 2.5-ton car moving like a sports sedan. The 7 Series has always had an identity problem, and BMW has finally stopped trying to solve it the traditional way. The current generation is polarizing. The massive kidney grille, the enormous footprint, the theater screen in the rear. BMW is not apologizing for any of it. The 7 Series is no longer designed for the driver. It is designed for the person in the backseat. That is a philosophical shift that tells you exactly where luxury automotive is going. The i7 is the clearest signal. BMW is building the 7 Series for CEOs, sovereign wealth funds, and technology executives who measure refinement in milliseconds of cabin noise isolation. The driver's car era of the 7 Series is over. What replaced it is more honest. Level 5, the BMW M5 and M8. This is where the M division pushes into territory that stops making practical sense, which is exactly the point. The M5 starts around $115,000. The M8 competition runs to $140,000. The M8 Grand Coupe competition sits just under $150,000. The M5 now runs a 4.4-liter twin-turbocharged V8 paired with a plug-in hybrid system. 717 horsepower. 0 to 60 in 3.0 seconds. A car that weighs over 5,000 pounds. Let that settle for a moment. The M5, a sports sedan that began as a racing car in a business suit, now makes more power than a base Lamborghini Huracan and can travel 20 miles on electricity alone. This is BMW making the same calculation Ferrari made with the SF90. Hybrid technology no longer limits performance. It amplifies it. The M5 is faster, more flexible, and more composed than any M5 that came before it. The engineers did not compromise to add the electric motors. They used the electric motors to eliminate the compromises that combustion alone couldn't fix. The M8, meanwhile, is a different animal. Where the M5 earns its performance, the M8 performs it. It is a grand tourer, built to make sure everyone in the room knows. The buyer knows this. That is why they buy it. From here, the process changes. Level 6, the BMW MCSL series and the BMW individual program. This is where the standard purchase process ends. The M4 CSL starts around $140,000 and is already gone. 1,000 units globally. Sold out before most people knew it existed. The M3 CS runs $115,000 and followed the same pattern. CSL stands for Coupe Sport Leicht. Carbon fiber roof, carbon fiber hood, carbon ceramic brakes, stripped rear seat. A version of the M division's car where every decision was made for the track first and the street second. Here is the detail that separates CSL buyers from standard M buyers. The CSL cannot be cross-shopped. You either receive allocation or you don't. BMW's regional distributors determine who gets offered a CSL slot based on dealer relationship, purchase history, and the specific cars already in your garage. If you have never bought a BMW through a dedicated dealer relationship, the CSL may not exist for you at all. BMW Individual is the second path at this level. Individual is BMW's bespoke configuration program. Exterior colors not listed in the standard catalog. Interior materials sourced specifically for a single build. Cabin details that turn a production car into something that will never exist in that exact configuration again. Individual buyers are not paying for exclusivity as a concept. They are paying for a car that is genuinely, documentably theirs. No one will ever park next to them in an identical specification. That distinction is worth more to certain buyers than any additional horsepower. Level 7, the final level, the BMW art cars and the Alpina tier. This is where the car stops being a product and becomes a category. The BMW Art Car program began in 1975 when French racing driver Hervé Poulain commissioned Alexandre Calder to paint a 3.0 CSL before racing it at Le Mans. Since then, artists including Andy Warhol, Roy Lichtenstein, Jeff Koons, and Jenny Holzer have produced official BMW art cars. There are 20 in the series. These are not commissioned art pieces with car shapes. They are race cars and production cars, driven and documented, that are now institutional assets held by museums, private collectors, and BMW's own collection in Munich. The most recent, John Baldessari's M3 GT2, competed at Le Mans in 2010. Koons' M3 GT2 was sold privately in 2012 for a figure BMW has never disclosed. You cannot buy your way into the art car program. You are either offered a relationship or you are not. Alpina sits in a different lane, but at the same altitude. Alpina is not a tuner. It is a separate manufacturer with its own VIN codes, its own engineering certifications, and its own factory in Buchloe, Bavaria. When Alpina builds a car, it receives a distinct vehicle identification number that identifies it as an Alpina, not a BMW variant. It is, legally, a different car. The Alpina B8 Grand Coupe produces 621 horsepower from a hand-assembled 4.4-liter V8 tuned in-house by Alpina engineers. Total production numbers are not published. Deliveries happen on timelines that Alpina sets, not the market. At this level, the car is not the transaction. The relationship is the transaction. The car is the evidence that the relationship exists. BMW did something no other volume manufacturer has fully replicated. It built a single badge that means 4 different things to 4 different people: economy car brand, sports sedan icon, executive statement, and collector's institution, and never fully contradicted itself doing it. The 3 Series is the entry and the argument. Levels 2 through 4 are where the badge pays for itself in daily life. Level 5 is where practical reasoning stops and desire takes over. Level 6 is where relationships replace money as the qualifying factor. Level 7 is where BMW stops being a car company in any traditional sense and becomes something closer to an art institution that also manufactures vehicles. The mistake most people make is thinking BMW is a car brand trying to move upmarket. It isn't. It is a prestige system with an entry-level product that anyone can access, and that accessibility is precisely what makes the top of the pyramid mean something. The 3 Series exists so that the art car means something. The dealership exists so the allocation list has power. The brand is the architecture. The car is where you enter it. If this was useful, subscribe. I break down brands the way they actually work, not the way the marketing department describes them.